This is the large intestines. The large intestines start with a structure, just like small intestines, has multiple parts to it. First part is the cecum. Cecum is short. Its job is to receive everything coming from the small intestines, then to be passed on to be used later. Attached to the cecum is the vermiform appendix. It's called vermiform appendix because vermi refers to worm, because it's a worm-like appendix. Looks like a little small finger hanging off the side of this. The purpose of the appendix is something we don't quite know. In other animals, it is used to help us process things like raw meat or plant products. In us, it just causes problems if it becomes bad, infected, things like that. The next part is the colon. The colon is broken up into multiple sections. The colon is the largest portion of this. Its job is primarily to remove water and compact everything, getting it ready to leave the body as waste. First portion is called the ascending colon because, as the name implies, it goes back upwards from the cecum up towards the stomach. It's then going to go across in the transverse colon, so it's going to go up and then across. And if you go up and across, then you also go down with the descending colon. So it's going to make a little bit of an upside down U or a little bit of a box structure. It's going to get back to the center of the body because it's going to go up, over, and down. Get back to the center so it can come out in a common opening that we have. You know, it's called a sigmoid colon. It's called that because it makes a little S shape and moves back towards the center of the body. The end of that, after that, is the rectum. The rectum is a short 5-inch long space. It's surrounded by different types of sphincters on both the top and bottom to help to control the amount of things coming through. Even though it's a short area, it's sort of the collecting and holding area before it leaves the body. And then the final portion of the anal cavity is about 2 to 4 centimeters long, which at this point, you're basically having sphincters open and closed to allow the removal of waste from the body. The final opening is the anus, which is going to exit the body and allow everything to leave the body and be utilized later. Showing it here, you can see where the vermiform appendix is. Here's the cecum, and then coming into the ascending colon. You go ascending, transverse, descending, and sigmoid back to the middle. And here you see the rectum having a shape here. You'll notice it has little grooves in here. Part of the reason why it has grooves is very simple. It allows it to kind of push things through and give it the ability to shove through. And then you see these large sphincters here which help to open and close all these regions. The walls of the large intestine, small intestine, remember, has a lot of little small finger-like things. It's all about absorption. Large intestines, not about absorption. It does do some absorption, but it's primarily there to get things ready to leave the body. So it's going to lack villi. Smooth surface, roughly, from the standpoint of no little finger-like projections. Surface area is much smaller. It does have ridges. The ridges act as sort of like rifling in the barrel of a gun, allowing things to be pushed through. The downside is those ridges can catch things, causing problems and infections. The functions. Primary job of the wall here is produce mucus. Mucus is going to be used for a couple purposes. One, for lubrications. Two, it's going to help to hold together all the waste products, allowing them to be pushed out as a solid group. You're going to remove water and electrolytes. So the last part of water you have left in your body is going to be removed at this point. Act like a giant sieve. Small little pores in there allow it to absorb the water and pull it through to be recycled and get as much water out of your waste as possible. Inside there you also have the intestinal flora, which is becoming more and more of an issue. People realize the intestinal flora plays a huge role in how our body functions, not only in processing our waste, but also in helping our health, protecting our body, doing all those things. These are a lot of number of bacterial types, including things like E. coli, and even some other types that we're familiar with that can cause problems if they get in other systems or we take them in through other sources. Their job is to break down the remaining nutrients, what they can. They're going to grow in numbers. So most of what comes out of you as waste is going to be just basically bacteria that's being used. These are also going to produce vitamin K, B12, thiamine, and riboflavin. All types of vitamins are important for our survival that we ourselves cannot make. Bacteria make them for us as a symbiotic relationship. They're living in us, we're giving them food, they're making these things for us as a way to sort of keep their host alive. They do, however, sometimes produce gases as a byproduct. Some of those gases include methane, carbon dioxide. So what's coming out of us when we release those gases and we think of it as coming from us is really being produced not by our body, but by the bacterial flora inside of our intestines. Some bacteria produce more gas than others, so some people have the ability to make more gases, and certain foods trigger those bacteria to produce more gases. The movement of the large intestine, how many times does it go through during a daytime? We talked about inside small intestine takes a while to process all the food, anywhere from 2 to 12 hours. Here, you have about 2 to 3 mass movements a day, 2 to 3 times that this waste is going to leave the body. That waste is coming out of the body is called feces, or fecal material. It is primarily undigested materials, water, so you eat corn, you get parts of the corn coming through, the husk of the corn of those, the sort of bran portion of it, or anything that we've eaten like that comes through. Water that isn't being reabsorbed. All the bacteria that's growing in there has to come out of there because it can't keep staying there forever, and the mucus all tying it together. The color comes from the changing of biopigments. As biopigments break down, they go from green to darker colors, which is what we see coming out of as waste products. The odor that we get from feces is also from the bacteria. The bacteria produce all those waste products which generate the odor that we smell.